Hello and welcome again to my channel. Today I bring you very exciting tool and technology that I think would really make a difference in the way we build embeddable tools and the way web pages are built, email and landing pages are built. And this is Grapes.js. So there is three parts to what we want to discuss today. Our main focus will be on the two parts, but it's important that I explain to you a bit of how these things are related. So we are looking at Grapes.js. So what is Grapes.js? To easily understand what Grapes.js is, we'll move to, let's go to the Grapes.js docs. So Grapes.js is a page builder or HTML builder. But here is the difference. It's a bit different from the normal HTML or page builder you already know. For example, they point out to the fact that you can embed this into your own stuff. So if you feel like you want to build a page builder, this becomes a framework for you to build your own page builder, you see. And now something else that they say that makes this a bit different from many other page builder is the fact that you have total control of the system. After all, you built everything from the scratch, and they give you the tool to build this from the scratch. If you check out the blog here that was written by the CEO, this particular one, Grapes.js and beyond, introducing Grapes Studio and our plans for the future. I think it is this one. One of these, I read it, and it gives you a big picture of how they are really different from every other page builder out there. So one good thing is it doesn't add like an overload onto your system. It doesn't use an iframe. It is something you can easily embed into your system and have total control of it. So here at the Grapes.js documentation, you can find all the tools that you need to build your own page builder from scratch. Everything is given to you here: the components, the blocks, the assets, and all of that. Now, I've introduced this to you for you to understand the background of what we'll be talking about today. Our main focus is not on Grapes.js, but on products that have been built on Grapes.js by Grapes.js company. I don't know if you get my point here. So when we turn back, we'll come back to the main website here that we are focusing on. It is Grapes.js, but there are two tools that we'll be looking at aside from this. So let's come back to our curriculum. So this is our curriculum, by the way. You know, I use curriculums these days to guide us through what we'll be discussing. So we'll be looking at Grapes.js, which we've already done, and then we'll be looking at what is GrapesJS Studio, and then what is GrapesJS Studio SDK. So these are three different things, and I need to help you understand the difference between these three. So let me check out the intro. I've already introduced this. So let's look at the difference between Grapes.js, GrapesJS Studio, and then GrapesJS Studio SDK. All right. So let's come back here. And once again, I said that GrapesJS is the framework on which you can build other page builders, because Grapes.js gives you all the tools that you need, right? Now, the next thing is, what is now GrapesJS Studio? So GrapesJS Studio is a platform that has been built on top of this Grapes.js that helps you to build HTML landing page, web pages, or email pages on the fly. So when you come back to this landing page here, which is grapesjs.com, and click on this try editor, it takes you to a studio here that have all the tools that you'll be needing to build out a particular web page. Now, I've already started editing, build something on this, which I'll delete and we'll rebuild together. But this is what you are supposed to land on top whenever you get to that page. So I had to use a different browser to open this so that you see what you should be expecting when you land on this page. So, like I said, this is a landing page builder. It helps you to build. Now, after building, you have full control because you can easily generate the code that you have been able to build based on the drag and drop that you've used so far. There is the HTML, there's the CSS. So you can easily generate this code and take it to your best editor and then start doing some more configuration and all that, and then you are able to build out something really cool in a very short amount of time. Now, it's not just that you're able to build out something cool, you also have full control of it, unlike most no-code tools that you would not have control over the code, and that might become frustrating when you are trying to build out or make certain corrections that might be a bit difficult to do using the drag and drop that has been given to you. All right. So I've been able to explain two things now. One is GrapesJS and the other is GrapesJS Studio. Now the third one is GrapesJS Studio SDK. So what do we mean when we talk about GrapesJS Studio SDK? Now that for me seems to be the fun of this whole thing and the main juice that we'll be talking about in a bit. But this is basically the tool that has been given to developers by GrapesJS to be able to add these page builders into their own application. So once again, it's not the first page builder that you see out there, but this really makes sense because they give you a lot of control over how you build or add page builders into your application, and it does not add unnecessary weight on top of your application, and you have total control over how you can configure everything your users will be able to do when you add this. So it makes it really a game changer and makes it really different. I'll be walking you through this documentation in a bit, but first thing we'll be doing is to go and see how to use this page builder to build a basic landing page. We'll not be building out a full landing page, but I'll get you started with how to build these basic things you need to know in building a landing page. So let's go back to our curriculum here and check this off. And next is how to use the Grapes Studio platform that has been provided for us. So let me show you how exactly you can build out a web page in the shortest amount of time using the GrapesJS Studio. So like I pointed out, if you navigate to app.grapesjs.com/studio, this is what you should see. This is the basic building block that you should have, or this is the landing page you should have. Let me just roll you through what you should have around here. So let's begin with here. Here is the pages, and the pages here contains every page that you should have or you can have. So if you want to create a new page, you just click on add page, and then I can add more page. So this could be the about page, something like that. About, let me rename it. All right, about. And this could be something like contact us, so you can rename it contact. All right, now you could also choose to duplicate a page. So say for example, I want this page in two places, so I could just click and duplicate the page like so, and I can name it whatever I want. So it could be blog like that. All right, then I could also choose to delete pages. So you click on the page first, and then you click on the menu icon, and then you can delete the page, and it goes off like that. So same thing with this, you can delete it like that, and it goes off. Great. Now we've been able to talk about the pages and the add button, and this is of course a drop down to show you or close it off. The next thing is the blocks. So if you want to add, say, blocks to your page, this is where you add the blocks from. So if you click on block, you should be able to have basic blocks like this. You should be able to have forms and extra. Of course, there is plugins that you could add to add some more stuff, like to add table and stuff like that. So if you want to add this block, you just drag it and drop it here on the page, and immediately you have the block. And this is actually a row with a particular column inside. One column, you could have this 3-column one here, and then here in the properties tab, when you click on this here in the properties tab, you should be able to make changes to it. So here you could line it up on the same line here. So I'll just go back here, and here in the layers tab is where you have everything that you are working on. So you just click it here, and once you click here, you could change this to say flex, and then change the direction to row. So once you change it to row, you should have it like this on one line, see, like so. All right, great. That is it with the row. It could be both ways. That's just it basically. That's what you really need to know. But could delete all of this off. And what more can you do with block? Basically anything. So you could now choose to add a form to maybe this block, and it has inputs already that you can make changes to. All right. You could maybe add a heading. add a heading here and stuff like this. We'll be working on all of this so that you see how these things can come together if you do it really nicely. I know this is not looking good, but this is to demonstrate to you how to use or move around the studio. All right. Then on this side, you could choose to show the component outline to show you, just a little grid around these items and see where exactly you've been able to put in a particular element or not, see if they align to each other and all that stuff. You can remove it and all the tiny grid line will go off, but I love having it on the page. All right. Then if you want to preview, you just click on this eye icon. As soon as you click on preview, it takes you to the preview view. And once you click on this other eye icon, it takes you back to the studio. Then there is the full screen mode to take you to full screen. If you love to work on full screen, I love working on full screen actually. So let's keep it at that. Now, if you want to generate the code for this particular landing page that we have here, you just click on the code icon here, and then you have the code that you can now copy into your own editor. All right. Now, I'll just take this off from the full screen mode so that you can see me while I'm talking. And then you can import a different code. So say, for example, you don't like what's going on here and you have your already made code, but you would love to make some touches to it. You can just import your code. And so you need to override what is here if you're importing your own code. So once you import your own code, it overrides what you have here. All right. Then you could just choose to clear this page. So if you click on this, you say clear page, everything goes off. But you can also undo this after you are done clearing. So you can just click on undo and it brings back everything on the page. You can click on redo to redo a particular stuff. And here is the setting. So in the setting, you have about, you have embed studio, you have open project, save project, load project, install app, and stuff like that. I told you you can install plugins. So if you click on this, it should take you to install this app, maybe in your browser, but you could also install plugins. So there's a lot that you can do with this, and you can choose to make this light mode, dark mode, or keep it at auto. I love keeping it at auto. Then this other part is the stars panel and the properties panel. So here in the stars panel, you can make changes to anything you have here. So for this row, for example, you could choose to, maybe change the layouts here. You could choose to change the background color. That's the most obvious one. So if you change the background color to something else, maybe something like red, it changes to red like that. So it's just like that. All right. And now the issue I'm having here, which is making this flicker, is because here in the stars tab, I didn't change the state to a normal state. So it's been in hover state. So it makes it only show what I'm styling only when I hover over it. Do you notice? So if I change this from hover to the no state level and I do the styling, then it will be as it should be. All right. So let's do the row and then get rid of the styling I did here. All right. So let me get rid of this styling so that there's nothing else to see. So I'll get rid of this and put it back to the regular state. For this one too, I have to do something similar. Notice that it was in the hover state too. So you make sure you remove it from the hover state. But let me get it away from the hover state first. So let me undo everything I did in the hover state and return it back to the regular state. Notice that it doesn't flicker. Now that I'm in the regular state, I could just choose to put this on the right line. So like this, you can now have everything sitting even without having to hover over it. And for this too, I could do something similar for this form. So it's now in the regular state. I could just choose to come to here and of course change it, and you have it staring at us there. So this is a walkthrough through what the studio looks like, the different tools in the studio. So the next thing in the studio should be to show you how to use the studio proper. So let's build out something. So build with studio. So by the way, we call GrapesJS, and then for the Grapes Studio, we'll call it Studio for short, and then for the Grapes Studio SDK, we'll call it SDK for short. So in case you don't hear me talk about Studio, I'm talking about Grapes Studio, and if you hear me talk about SDK, just know that I'm talking about Grapes Studio SDK. All right. So let's check off this how to use Grapes Studio, and now let's move on to building with Studio. All right. So first thing, let me return this to what it was, or let me just get rid of this particular page. So let me delete it off and it goes off. All right, and let me close off this browser. I just opened that browser to be able to demonstrate to you. Now I'll be demonstrating to you how you can use, not how you can, we'll be building something actually with this studio. Now I already told you that, let me open this in a new tab by the way. I already told you that I've played around with this studio and it really looks cool. So what I would do is just clear off this page. And so we have a blank slate for us to build with. We'll be building something similar to what you saw. Maybe just do a bit of the heading, add an image, and just to demonstrate building stuff on this particular studio. Okay, so let's hit the road. So the first thing we want to do is to have that kind of nav bar that we had in the other browser. All right, so here is it. This is what it looks like. I cloned it into a new place. So we just want to build something like this and add image and stuff like that, maybe add a button. So what we want to build is just something similar. So the first thing we need to do is to add a row like this. So we need three column row, not just one column row. So just drag it and drop it here on the page. And every time you drop it on the page, it's going to stack up like this until you change the direction of the row. So what we need to do is we could come here and inside of here change the row layout immediately to this direction like this. So horizontal direction or horizontal reverse, one of them should work for you. And then we can go back to our blocks this time around and want to add logo, want to add icon and stuff like that. Okay, so let me add a heading here and we use it as a logo. So we can do a berry. So let me clear this off and we do a berry plenty. All right, and then here we could add some links. So we are given a link box here, so we could drag it and drop it inside here. The link box help you to keep a set of links. So we're just dragging more links into it. Okay, so we'll drag in one into it. We'll duplicate this to have maybe 3 or 4 at the end, and then we want to add a button. So we'll come down here and have a button. We'll drag it in like this. And then now that we have the main components that we need, we can now start doing a bit of styling to this looking really big. I could just swap this for a regular text and then work on it. So let me delete this and then drag in a text. All right, and then I'll just put in the name, berry plenty, like that. All right, great. This is awesome. So let's start with styling this first one. So for this first one, as soon as you click on any particular component on the page, you would just have the styling laid out here under the styles. You could just come to this part and click on what you want, and then you come to this side and do the layout. So what we just want here is to change the size. So we could change the size to size 20 and make it a bit bigger. So let me undo this so that, all right, so let's target the text and then the size should be of size 20. So let's do 20 again and let's try. I'm not sure why that was no. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to work on the typography. It happens. So here on the typography, you change the size to size 20, and then we want to change the font to maybe Comic Sans, just something nice like that, and then change the width. I want to make it semi-bold like that. We could change the color, but I will keep the color like that, and that should do for me. Something else you could choose to change is maybe the background color, the border color, position and all that, but I will not be working on any of those. This will just be fine for me. Here in the layout, you can make sure that this is properly aligned to the center. All right, then I think we are done with that. So let's come back to the link and pick this link and style it. Then we'll copy and paste. All right. Or let's come back here, by the way. So here in the text part, we could make it change on hover. So what we could just do is change the color on hover. So for us to change the color when we hover over it, we could just come to the state here at the top and then change it to hover. Then when we change it to hover, we can now come and change the color. So let's go down to not background color. Let's come back to typography, and here in the color, we could just change it to say blue, something, or purple, something like that. Let's make it deep whenever you hover on it, like that. So just like that. Okay. So we now have that working for us anytime we hover over it. So you see it's already working from here. So let's come back here. Here in the links part, and I want to put in my my component outline here. So here in the links part, I could change this to home. So I could change this to home like that. Okay, and then we'll now start changing maybe the color and stuff like that. So here in the typography, I want to change it to the same color we did with the hover effect. So let's change it to this color. And what else? Let's make sure we have it. So it's still on hover. I don't think I want this to change on hover only. I want a different effect for hover. So the hover effect is fine. I also want it to have an underline. So since we are working on the hover first, let's go down, and here in the decoration here, because we are on hover, we could make it underline. But I think I'll prefer a border instead of an underline. So let's go down to the border section, and then we could choose to make, okay, the border should be like 2 pixel for the width, and then the border style should be dashed. Then the border color should be the same color like this. So something like that should just work for us. And that's it. You could choose to add effects like opacity, cursor, and stuff like that. We have shadow filter. We have the transition effect if you love to add a transition. So you just add what you want the transition to be and stuff like that. Or just keep it simple like this. Okay. So close off this, and then let's go back from the hover. From the hover, let's go back to the regular state so that we'll style this properly. Okay. So back in the regular state, let's go back to typography. So here in the typography, we don't want it to be pink. We want it to be black. So let's keep it at black. So it will be black until you hover over it. Then something else we want to make sure is that this is stacked properly inside of its parent container. Okay. So so here we want to make sure that this is properly stacked in between. So you see it takes the vertical alignment here. So with this, I think we are done here. We'll just now copy this and paste it more than once. So paste it multiple times, and then change the names or their label like that. This could be blog, and this could be docs, like that. Now, another thing we might do in order to make sure that we can easily understand what we are building at the long run is to name everything here. So for example, this row could name it navbar. We could also name this column to be navbar wrapper, something like that, wrapper. So this helps to easily identify what we are doing. So this could be logo text. And this next one, no, this should be navbar brand, sorry. And this should be navbar links or nav links. So that should be better, links. And then we could leave this for as links box. Then we could now change maybe this to home, and change this to about, change this to blog, and change this to docs. Then this last part we could change it to nav auth, something like this, off, because this part will be used for authentication. All right. And now that we have this, we could also let's change this to flex. And now that it is flex, we could align everything to the center like this. All right. So you could do virtually everything you can do normally on CSS with this. All right. So for this block, we want to make sure we are not in the hover. Let's come back here to the layout. I want this to move to the end. All right. So First of all, it should be centered at the middle, like so. But we also want it to move to the other end. So we change this to flex and then move this to the end like this. Awesome. Then let's move into changing the button. So this would be login button like this. So also here in the text, we're changing this to login. Okay. Now we move to the typography, increase the typography, increase the spacing. So here in the spacing, we can work on the padding, and we can make every part of the padding the same. For example, we could make this a 10 padding all rounder, or we could change it to custom padding and change this other sides to 50 and this sides to 50 like that, and it gives you more room here. Then here in the typography, we could change the font here, but we will not be changing the font. Instead, we'll be changing the font size to 16 like this. So we increase the size a little bit, and for the text, we want it to be white. So let's move this to white. We can't see it now because we've not changed the background. So let's move to the background and change the background too. So change the background to this. I think this is the color we're working with. Move it to the very end. Then we can go to the borders. So here in the border radius, we can change this to 10, and it gives you that small curve at the edge. Here in the border width, we'll make it 1. The border style, we'll make it solid. And then for the border color, we keep it to the same thing that we have been using, like that. So that works. Now remember that if you want to maybe make every site different, for example, if you want to make all the border radius different, you just click on the custom one here and you can change it individually, but I don't see a need for that. So I'll just keep it with all rounder for everything. So now that we have this, let's also work on the hover. So when you change to the hover state, what we want is to change the text and change the background. Okay. So for the background here, we want to change it back to white. And then for the text color, so move to typography and change this to our regular, like that. So when you preview this now, this is what you should have. You should have your nav bar clearly laid out for you. And when you hover on any of these, you should have this nice box on around it. But I think we should just keep it just at the bottom. So we can make changes to that. If you hover on this, you see you have the blue, or the purple rather, and when you hover on this, you have it transforming. So let's quickly make changes to this, or we could just leave it at that. But if you want to make changes to this, let me show you how you can do it, by the way. So when you hover on this, you could change this and say custom. So you can now remove for these other ones, like that. And now you could change it, check it again, and notice that it is now different from these other ones. Okay. So you could also try to use this for, say, maybe when it is active and all of that. So what else we want to do? We want to change the background of this and make it possible for you to hover. Sorry, not hover, for it to be sticky at the edge. So let's return back here. So first of all, we want to move it away from the edges, like we have this one moved away from the edges. So let's move it away from the edges too. So for us to move it from the edges, let's go to spacing here. We are working on the outer row, and let's change the margin around it, or the space around it, to say something like 20, and that should move us away. And so if we preview, oh, we're still in the hover state. Let's make sure we are not in the hover state. So you should always check the states in which you are. If not, you keep making some of these mistakes. So let's move it from the hover state to the regular state. And then here in the spacing, we want the margin. Here in the margin, we want to put it at 20 pixels all around that. So it moves away from all around it. We'll also add a border. We are adding a border width of 1, border radius of 10, of course. Style, we could keep it at dotted. And for the border color, we'll just keep it at, say, our regular, like this. Like that. That makes sense. So we'll also give it padding by the both side, and then give it a little of a nice color inside of that. So let's select it again, and then let's come back into the spacing here. For the padding, let's add say 10, 10, and see how it goes. So I think that's just fine. Let's just give it a nice border color, sorry, background color inside of this. So something really light. It's going to be really, really light. So let's drag this a little bit. So I think this is fine. This is just cool. All right. So we could preview this and you see how it looks. So this is what we have at this moment, and everything is working as we laid it out. Okay. All right. Now that we have this, something else we want to make sure, like we pointed out, is that we want this to be sticky at the top. So we don't want it to move when you scroll the page. So for you to do that, you come to the positioning, and for the positioning here, you keep it as sticky. So you pick sticky and make sure that for the top here, you specify the height you want. So I'll keep it at 0. So this should work perfectly. Now we will not be able to see this if we don't add more content to this page. So what I'll just do at this point is to add a new block. So I'll add a new block. So just this block would work. And then I'll just add text to it, and then I'll just copy any random text. So I'll just come to this page and maybe copy the text I have here. I'll just paste it on my browser here and then copy it. The reason is to get rid of every styling that it comes with, just to make sure we are not importing it with more styling. So if you paste it, it should come in like a normal text. And then we'll just make sure that the new row we have, which is this paragraph row, let's make it paragraph row. Just make sure that it follows similar styling so that it doesn't look so bad. So here in the spacing, want to keep the margin at 10, like that. So that should be good. And I could copy this a couple of times and paste it. So copy, paste, paste, paste. We just want to have a long text on our page. But you see, it's already working even without previewing it. So like that. So let's preview. And so we'll have this long text, and it's just stacks under it when it goes up like that. So we could also add a bit of height, top to this. So let's come back to the positioning here where we put in 0. So we could just add 10 or 5. And so now when you move, you now notice that it gives a little space at that top. You could also preview this and it looks nicely. So just as we planned it, okay? All right, so that's working fine. Let's imagine you want to add, say, something like an image. So let's just do that. And I think gradually we've been able to touch on every tool that we use here. So first thing to do is add a one-line block. So let's add this one-line block like this. And then we want to add the image. So add an image. So you could choose to use an image that is already here, or you import a new image. So I'll just use one that I already have here. So I just select it and it goes in nicely. Then what I want to first do here is to make sure that this new row that I have here stacks up nicely. So here in the spacing, I want to keep it at 10 for the margin like this. And then for the image that I have inside, I will just, I want to make sure that it aligns properly. So for the size, I'll just come to the width here and keep it at 100%. So keep it at percent. So it fits in nicely, leave the height at auto. And so this is what it looks like. So that's nice. All right, great. So this is what we have on our page. And just with this, you now see how easy it is for you to use this studio to do whatever you want. So let me make sure I add some more edges, some more curve to this and add a bit of padding. So let's come back here and here in we'll add some border. So let's just come here for the border here. I'll make it 2 so that it's very obvious. And the style, I want it solid. Then for the color, as usual, we'll pick this, take it to the edge. Pick this and take it to the edge like this. I want it to be very obvious. For the border radius, keep it at 10, like that. So that gives us a little of curve. And for the spacing, I'll just keep it at 10 all rounder. So that should take it a bit inside. And I think we have what we want. Let me preview this. So great. So this is it. This is what I picture. We could add some margin from the outside so it takes it a little bit inside too. You could also get rid of the padding if you feel like it doesn't make sense. So So here you could choose to get rid of this so that it stacks up nicely, and then you add margin instead to the outer part like this, if you choose to, whatever works for you. So I'll just get rid of all of that, and I think this works nicely, just as it should be. Like that. You can just do anything with this. That's what I love about it. Okay, and it works. So this is how you can use the studio. Now, when you are done with this, what's next? You can now choose to get the code for what you have built so far. So you see, it's generating the code for us. So if it generates the code, you can now copy it into your favorite editor. So you can choose to wait for it to load the preview of the code, or you could just download the zip. After all, that's what we want to do. When we download the zip, we can now open it in a different code editor. So we'll have it downloading. It should download in a moment. I think why it's taking a while to preview is because it's a bit heavy on the page. So let's go to where we have it downloaded, and then let's unzip it. So once you unzip it, you can open it with your editor. I'm using VS Code, and let me get this away. Okay, so it shows you your assets. So we'll have one asset here, which is the image that we used. There is the about us page. You could just format this and everything stacks up nicely, and you see this is how it's supposed to be, everything that's supposed to be, and almost everything here is on SVG, and then there's a div and all of that. Okay, there is now the index page. You can also format this clearly, so you format this and everything stacks up nicely. So this is the page we actually built by ourselves with a lot of content. Okay, so we could save all of this, and let's open this on a browser. So currently this is where we're working on. I could just close this off, and our preview happens here inside of the app.grapes.js, and then we'll have that URL for us. So now let's open this in, say, live server. So open it in live server, and then it's previews for us. So you notice that this is now on our live server, and this index.html. If you choose to change this to about, it should also change to what we have on the about page. Okay, so this is exactly how it works. Sorry, this should be index. It's exactly how it works. So from what we've done now, you could now choose to start making changes to anything you want here. For example, you could reduce the text we have here. You could change the image you put initially, and all of that. So this is how you can use Grapes Studio to get started in a very short time and build upon it. So now that we've done this, we've been able to check out this third box, and that really makes a lot of sense. So now we will now focus on the SDK, that is the Grapes Studio SDK. I'll show you the documentation, and then I'll show you how you can add this to JavaScript, how you can add it to React, and how you can add this to Next.js. So let's dive right in. So we're back to the website. That's grapesjs.com. We'll now move to the docs. Now this docs is focused on the Grapes Studio SDK. Initially I showed you the documentation for GrapesJS, so that is this one. Okay, and this was Grapes Studio itself. So let's close it off. Let's also close this off. But once again, the this Studio SDK is built upon the Grapes.js framework. Okay, so let's now focus on what Grapes Studio SDK has for us. So I'll just zoom in a little bit so that you can see what we have here. All right, so the first thing you meet immediately you come to the documentation here is the getting started, and this is a nice place to just get started and really do fast. We'll be back to this page in no time, but it gets you started with installation and everything. So if you want to do this as an email, so what we're doing, we're really focusing on how to build maybe landing pages, web pages, but actually this can also work for email. I think I'll be demonstrating how to do this for email in another tutorial, but on this page you just get started and see how you can add a builder, a HTML builder into your own project. Okay, now after this is the licensing page whereby you learn how you can sign up and get your license. It is important that you get this license before going live in production, because of course this is how they can keep track of how you are using the SDK, people who are signing up and all of that. And this is also how you have rights over what is being built on top of your platform. So if you are adding this into your own platform, into your own website, into your own application, this is how you can also keep track of what's going on. Then there is the editor configuration. Here is where you will learn how you can configure your editor into what you like. Now you can change the settings of your editor in different ways that you can think about. For example, you could choose to not allow your users to create multiple pages. You could choose maybe not to even allow your user to make a preview, stuff like that. So you can do all of that from the configurations page. It will redirect you, of course, and we'll get to that section in a bit. Now, like I pointed out, there are two project types. So here in the project types, we have the web and we have the email. So here you learn about how you can embed the editor, that is the builder, HTML builder for a web page. And then you can also embed for email here. The email uses the MJML rather. It uses it for building out the email and newsletter template. So you could just find what you are looking for here. And you notice something about these documentations. They are very short, very easy to go around. So it's not something that is difficult. You can easily move around it. It will take you a couple of maybe hours and you'll be able to navigate all through this documentation. It is that simple. So now let's move into the configuration proper. Now we will not be overly diving into this configuration, but of course I'm just giving you where you can find stuff, what you can do and all of that. So here's an overview of the configuration. So basically here in the configuration, you get an overview of things you can configure. So for example, you can configure projects, you can configure pages, you can configure assets, you can configure theme, you can configure the layout, and there's a global CSS. Then there is also the template. All this provides you like a shortcut to each of these. So for example, this project, and you can move to the relevant page. So this is configurations for pages, and you can move to the relevant page. This is configuration for theme, and here's a relevant page. This is layout, and you can move to the relevant page, as you can see. This is global styles, and then this is template. Each of them will take you to their dedicated page where you can get the actual configuration. So when you want to say configure for projects and you decide to go to the relevant page, it will take you to this next tab, this next link, which is project. So this is where you keep set up, the basic project settings. For example, here's where you set up and say the type of what you are embedding is web, and here's where you set up maybe the default pages you would love to have at the onset of your project. Okay, it is very important that you set up a storage. If not, you might overload your project at the end of it. So you see that you're setting, say, cloud, or you're setting self-storage, so that you specify a particular storage where you are set to be used. I would prefer to use cloud in most cases. So you could just check out what works for you. And there are other configurations you can do along the line. For example, loading project from prop, autosave. You could choose to say you want to save every 5 seconds. You could choose to say I want to save after every 5 changes. Now after this, there is the pages configuration, whereby you can configure anything. There is initialization. When you set up multiple pages at the beginning, at the project level, you see 3 of them stacked up like this. There is this configuration here that you can do, how your pages are named and all of that. You can even pass in content to it. I showed you how to duplicate page in the last section. Just so many things you can do: remove page, command items, and all of that. Then here's for the assets, where you configure your storage. I've pointed this out before. There is the custom storage, there is the cloud storage. Then for the theme, you could choose dark mode, light mode. There is the base theme, there's default. So many things that you can do from this other part. Then here is the layout. Here in the layout, it's basically about the components. For example, there is the row component, there's the column component, there is text component, there's the tab component, there is button components. I showed you all these things inside of the editor in the last section. So in case you skip that, you might need to watch it to get most of the things we are talking about. I think something I didn't point out to was the fact that there are you can make what you are building really, really responsive. For example, let me zoom out. For example, this is desktop, this is tablet, and this is for mobile landscape. So when you get to this point, you might need to start making changes to make it really, really responsive. Okay, we didn't cover this in the last part, but this is just the point, and this is how it works. So you could make this really responsive on any particular screen. Okay, so let's close this off and come back here. There is the panel settings, panel layers, panel pages layers, panel properties, custom, and all of that. Then there is the global styles that you can apply to give your editor a unique view, such that anybody that comes in has this particular color or this particular font size, font type, and all of that. So you could set it up from the global CSS so that you have a brand kind of representation whenever a person comes to use any of this page builder. Then finally, there's a template. So this is where you can start off anytime you start. So what we mean here is this template is gives you a base page that you can start a basic stuff. So for example, in when we navigate to our page here, usually you are given this template. So this template is just a good place for you to start. So you could set this up for your user so that when they come, there's something for them to start. You could even set this up for different kind of pages. So for example, the about page is different from the contact page. There is the landing page. There is maybe the blog page and all of that. So this is it basically. And these are the most important parts you need to be concerned about here inside of the documentation. The other parts of the documentation is the examples here. So here in the examples, which we'll be emulating some of them in a bit, you have how you could embed this HTML builder into different applications. So into different frameworks. So for example, this is for Angular, this is for Astro, this is for HTML, this is for Next.js, this is for Nuxt, this is for Svelte, this is for TypeScript. And here in the layouts, there is the canvas. You could just check out and you would love what you see here. Okay. For each of these, once you open it, it does like an installation, set you up, and then you can preview what you have. And this is it. For example, this is how it works. Okay. All right. So let's get rid of this. This is it for Next.js if you're a Next.js person. Now you should know that what works for Next.js will definitely work for React. When you look up here, you notice that we are even importing React. So that is it. This is the quick overview that you need to know. The other part of this this documentation is the plugin. So some of these things are not given to you outside the box. So you might need some plugin to add, say, something like table, to add something like lists and light gallery, stuff like this. I believe with this, you should be able to navigate your way all around building a basic landing page, and this advances, it grows with you as you grow. So that is it for the documentation walkthrough. So in the next part, we'll now be adding this SDK into our project: HTML, JavaScript, React, Next.js. Yeah. So let's now work on the HTML, JavaScript one. We want to see how we can embed a HTML builder. It could also be an email builder, anyone you choose, into our project. So the first thing we need to do is to create a project. So we'll quickly create a project. So we want to open a new folder, or create a new folder rather. So when we come here, we could do this inside of say desktop, and let's create a new folder, and let's call it GrapesJS HTML, something like that. Okay, so we'll create this folder, and then of course we open the folder. That's all we really need. So let's go back to desktop and let's try again. Open a new folder, and inside of desktop, this is the folder we're opening. So open it. All right, so that works now. All right, so inside of here, we'll just create a new file. So we'll just say index.html like that. Now this is as simple as it comes. We'll just copy what we have from here in the example, and I just remove a few things that we do not need. Okay, so here in the HTML one, we'll just copy what we have on this HTML page. Now these are all the files here. You could choose to copy some of the styling and all of that, but we'll not be needing it. So just copy what's here, and we'll come down here and paste it. I'll just explain every part of this code. So of course, here is the head. Here's the head, and here is where you add the Studio SDK files. Okay, so we have two of them that you need to make sure you have, and this is the main one, which has the JavaScript and all of that. Then this is where you have the styling. So you need to make sure that these two are here, both the script tag and the style tag. Okay, then here's the basic styling. You need to have this basic styling, and I would uncomment it to show you why at the end. Okay, then you can get rid of this nav here. Just get rid of the nav and focus on the main main content. Or we could just say this is the studio, our own studio. Okay, GrapesJS studio. Okay, now that you have this, we now focus on the script here, studio script. Okay, so inside of here we are calling on this class GrapesJS Studio SDK, and we are calling the Create Studio Editor function. Okay, inside of it we are setting up the root, which is where our SDK would live. That is this one here, this ID. Okay, and then we are setting up our license. We don't have a license because we didn't create one, but if you create your license, this is where it should go. And you're setting up a few defaults for your project, which are these ones that you have here. Basically you're just saying that there should be a page named home, and then these are a few things you want in the components, which is basically having a Hello Studio and then adding the style. So let's save that, and then let's open this in a live server. Now this should load up on our browser, as you can see. So this is awesome, this is beautiful, and this is exactly what you have on the studio that we used to demonstrate how to use the GrapesJS Studio. Everything you have had there is what you also have here. So if you choose to say you want to add column, you can choose to add the column. If you want to add say text, you can choose to add text here and all of that. You can also add this. You can work on the styling like so, and you see everything is working exactly as you plan. So you could put image here like that. If you want to upload one, you upload one, or you let it be. So this is how you can add the studio into a HTML project. Okay, and this is awesome. It is that straightforward. If you choose not to add some of this styling, let me show you what will happen. Basically, it would not fill up the screen size, and that will not look good. So let me comment this out. Let me comment that properly and save this and come back here. Notice that it's not taking up the full screen size, which does not look so cool. So let's come back here and uncomment this, save it, and it returns back to the full screen mode, which is what we really want. Okay, I've already shown you how to use all of this. So what I'm just showing you at this moment is how you can add this into your project and serve it to your user if your project is supposed to have a HTML builder for your users. Okay, so that's it for HTML. So the next one we'll do now would be for React. How do we add this in a React project? So the first thing we need to do is to create a React project. All right, so let me close this off. And of course, I always use Vite to bootstrap everything I do. So we just come here and copy the command npm create Vite latest, and then I will also do this inside of my desktop and paste the command npm create Vitest, and then the project name will be Grapes React, something like that, Grapes React, and we are sticking to JavaScript for now. In the next project, or in the next tutorial rather, I'll be looking at how you can do this with JavaScript. Okay, so let's start off this project called Grape React. Okay, as usual, this is as simple as it gets. It is just embedding these things inside of your project, and that is it basically. So the first thing we need to do here is to install npm I. Want to install the dependencies that are needed. Then while that is installing, we can go, let's close this off, we no longer need it. We can go back here to the docs and get the installation link. So this is the link you need to install for you to be able to use this the GrapesJS package. Okay, so let's come back here and also install it. So let's paste it and hit enter, and it has started installing. So that's installing nicely. So once it's done installing, let me close this off. So once it's done installing, we can now start our server. So npm run dev. Our server starts at localhost. So we now have this. Okay, so let's go back to our project, and here in the app JS, we'll be clearing off everything and removing the styling so that it doesn't affect what we are doing. So let me remove this. I'll remove the count. Remove everything at the top here, and then let's go to the to the CSS here, and we just remove everything we have here. Save it. You can also remove all of this in the app.css. Save it. If you don't remove the styling, it's going to make your editor shrink when you put it. Okay, so let's come back here in the source directory and create another directory, components. Now inside of here, I just want to create the grapes component, grapes.jsx. Okay, and then let's start the component like this. So let's go back to our page here. Sorry, to the documentation here. So here in the documentation, in the getting started part, come down to the setup web projects. That's after the installation, and focus on the React one. Okay. So here in the React one, the first thing we want to do is to first of all import the studio and the style. So let's come back here and import the studio and the style like this. Okay. So now that we have the style and the studio imported, the next thing is to import the to set up the studio itself. So copy the studio like that and paste it inside of the return statement like this. So basically what here is doing is we are stacking up this component studio editor here. That is the main component, and then we're passing in some options. We'll add in some more in a bit. Okay, so but for here we are setting up some default for our project. So we're saying that the project type should be web. So you could choose to change this from web to an email and to change. And we are saying that these are the default pages we want to have. Okay, so we save this, and then let's pass this component into our app.js. So grapes like this. Make sure you import it at the top. I automatically import it at the top here, then save it. So once we save it, let's go back to our preview here and notice that it is showing exactly what we need here in the preview. So now that you have it here, everything that you really need is here. So if you now choose to maybe make some other changes, then you might need to start looking for, okay, how do you add, say, some styling, some props and all of that. So you have to come to your documentation here and go check projects. So what can you do here in projects? What are things you can set up? So for example, here you can set up the storage, you can set up your license. So you just need to maybe copy these and change the options. So I could just copy all of this, but of course I wouldn't be setting any of this up. But I'm just showing you how you could set up options inside of your project here. So inside of the options, you could just paste this in. Make sure you end with a comma here. And what else? I'm getting an error here, so let's get rid of this and let me see what's going on here. So let's come back here and check what the problem was. I'm not very sure what the problem here is. Let me inspect, and you say we have a duplicate key. Oh yeah, that's project. So let's get rid of it. Okay, now if you add it like this, you add your license, you check your storage, and if you want to use your personal storage, you change it to self. If you like it as cloud, you can leave it. And here's the identity. So you need to make sure that you're not passing in here in the identity, you're not passing in any sensitive stuff like maybe email or any password or stuff like that. Okay, so you could now add some other stuff like this. Maybe like the autosave. You could specify the autosave inside of the storage and all of that. Then here in the maybe layouts, you could also make some changes, you know, how you love the layout to be. For example, you could style. So it's inside of the layout here that you set up maybe the height of the height of your editor. So we could copy this layout like this and paste it inside of our options here. Okay, so I can paste it just before the project, but make sure you add a comma after that so that you don't run into an error. Now, something you need to know is if you are setting up the default, you need to specify these children. Now, these children are just the canvas, like the sidebar left, the sidebar right, and then there's the middle component, which is the main place you see your stuff go into. Okay, now let's set up the height to 100% like this, and then let's set up the type to be row like that and save it. Come back here and do a refresh. Okay, now it goes off. We have SDK misconfiguration. So let's come back here and change this height to, maybe let's change this height to say view height. But I'm not sure this is where the problem is coming from. I think the problem is coming from the fact that we put in the license here and the identity and they are not really doing anything. So let's get rid of them and save it and then go back and do a refresh. So we have everything coming back. So if you're going to put a license here, you make sure you have the correct license because it's going to check. And know that if you are going live, then you need to set up that license. I just need you to know that. So now that we've been able to set up, say, the height to 100 view height, you see that we are now taking up the full page. Now, what happens if you get rid of these children? So if you don't specify these children and come back here, do a refresh, it's going to go blank. So it's very important that you specify these children for it not to go blank as it did the last time. So if you are seeing this editor for the first time and you don't know how to use it, please go check the previous part where I showed exactly how to do it. Now, this is it basically. This is how you can add an editor to your React project. So if you are building a project for your users and you need them to have access to a HTML builder, this is just how you do it. And once you do it, it is simple to do. Able to cover a whole lot today. We've been able to see the difference between GrapesJS, GrapesJS Studio, and GrapesJS Studio SDK. We were also able to look at how to use this GrapesJS Studio. Then we went ahead to build something with the studio, and then we got to see what documentation looks like and how you can use it. Then we were able to add this studio into HTML, JavaScript project, and then React project so far. Now, the GrapesJS documentation proper that we looked at the first time is cool, but in my opinion, I think now that we have the studio, and most of the things that GrapesJS will give you is already in the studio, you might really not need this. I probably will do another tutorial on GrapesJS on its own, but I'm really excited about the studio that you can embed into your project and then use on the fly. So thank you very much for watching this. I would make more tutorials like that for next year's. We also do for TypeScript and all of that. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you comment. I'll see you in my next tutorial.